thank you for having me, and welcome to my staff. I see several of them out there, so I need to at least make sure that I show pretty well. I just wanted to have a conversation about Accela's views on open data and the way that we view this marketplace and kind of the dynamics that are taking place and the change that we see going on. We think it's really exciting. I know that kind of the big question here is, can open data improve governance? I left the Democratic out of there because I think that that's kind of a given, where we are in the world today. We try to look at things more from a democratic ideal standpoint, but how can open data improve governance? I think it's a great question, and one that we've at Accela been dedicated to since I've been here. I've been at the company for 14 years. We have 500 clients across licensing of occupation. So anytime you go to your hairstylist and you look up there on the wall, there's a little license that says Maury Blackman's authorized to cut your hair. God help you. That's a licensing that's a license issued by the state, something that Accela does. So when we look at all this information that goes into these systems, it becomes really interesting to us, because what we found over the years, particularly where I've been around, is that governments are outstanding at collecting information. They collect all this data and this information, but they've always had a really tough time of spitting it out and sharing it in a way that's meaningful. Not only with the public, but actually it's amazing, they have a tough time sharing it amongst themselves. So a lot of times when I meet with city managers and different leaders, they have a lot of questions about, I need more access to information. I need more information about what's going on in different departments that either I manage or that I work very closely with. So, I think that, this information for years has been very siloed in these departments. And when we come in and we try to implement an enterprise system, what we try to do is we try to streamline the information flow between the different departments. And that often becomes, a very expensive, time-consuming, and costly enterprise, because what you have to do is you have to get all these different departments to agree on different standards on how they're going to share information, different workflows that they agree to work off of. So what we really see is so exciting about the whole open data movement and what's going on with open data software and services is that government agencies are learning how to take information out of these silos that are in their departments and put it in holding areas where they can share it easily between different departments. And when we look at it from the Accela standpoint, it's very that's a very cost-effective and streamlined solution, not only for us but for our customers, so that they don't have to focus on building these long, complex workflows between different departments. But what they can do is basically put data out in an open environment where people can come in and see and view and get the information that they need. So at Accela, we look at open data in two different mindsets. And the first one is productivity. So our customers, when they buy our software, they are looking at first of all, how can we make ourselves more productive internally? So I see one of my favorite customers out here, Palo Alto. They have a whole string of departments that need to work together, and one of the things that they want to do is they want to get their building inspectors to be more productive. So when they go into the field, they have all the information at their fingertips about what's going on with a specific property. So it's not a linear approach. They can look and see when the last time the sidewalk in front of the house was tore up. They can see any zoning requirements. They can look at fire information or hazardous material that's being stored in that property, even though as a building inspector, that's not necessarily part of their information data set that they would normally have access to. So what open data does is it gives them the capability to be able to look across the enterprise at all the different departments they work with and efficiently work right there at the job site. So if you think about kind of the world before this took place, what would normally happen would be that, Palo Alto's building inspectors may go out to the site, they have their information that they're familiar with, but they would have to go back to City Hall to check on all the different components they saw. Is there hazardous material ever stored here on site? What's the zoning requirements? What are the different building standoffs? Where is it that that they lack information? And then they'd have to make those decisions and go back. So open data really speeds the process up and makes our customers more productive. The second piece, which I think most people are familiar with, is the whole engagement part of open data. So when you make data available to the public and you put that data in their hands and make them familiar with what's going on behind the scenes at government, it makes them more powerful. It gives them information at their fingertips to make decisions about how they want to work with government and how they can make things better. And so where we see kind of where we see this going on the public side is, we look at, for example, one of our customers, City of El Paso, they did a really interesting presentation at our user conference where, one of the things that happens to me every once in a while is I get home and my trash cans are still full outside. They didn't get picked up. And the immediate question in my mind is, what happened? Well, I have to get on the phone and call East Bay Mud or whatever the trash collection agency is out here. I forget who it is, and find out why my trash didn't picked up. Well, in El Paso, they have the same problem. But what they did was they used basically our open system platform to build a very simple app so that when the garbage inspectors are out, or the garbage pickup guys are out doing their work, if there's something they can't pick up, they just take out their phone, they take a very simple picture of the trash can, write down the violation, and then it goes directly into the system. Then I, as the consumer, can become very engaged when I get home and log in and say, hey, what's going on with my trash can? I can see it right there. So, we think that on the engagement side, there's hundreds and hundreds of applications that will be built around these types of formats. And I think one of the things that I always really stress in my presentations to people is the number one thing that people do with us is construction activities. And when you ask yourself why, it's because construction is the largest industry in the U.S. And it's also the most regulated. So most regulated, biggest, also equals most complex, but most rewarding. And when I see, what people are doing around open data on a very simplistic type of approaches that we've seen over the past couple of years, I see the opportunity in the construction space to be massive, and that young developers and people will be building applications around construction data that really move the needle. I mean, when you think about being able to speed up a process that is a $1.2 trillion industry, it can potentially be very meaningful and financially rewarding for anyone who's building these types of applications. And that's been the message that I've delivered so many times in these types of environments, is that working inside these types of systems where there's real economic value has the biggest potential to really move the needle. And what I think is one of the important things that that we're here to talk about today is how we can build commercial applications around open data. And you do it by finding where there's the biggest and most likely economic reward. So thank you for your time. Did I make it within? I made it within, I think, 1 minute. Yeah, she was flashing me. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing everyone else.